So guys are running the 16 saying, oh, maybe I should buy the 18 and the newer models. A lot of your energy is being lost in the clutch system.
Is this a product that's available for Polaris guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's Polaris S all the way down to the 2016 XPT. So the Polaris Turbo.
And the product's called?
I love your videos, they're so cool.
Awesome, yay, thank
it
you.
It keeps me going in between trips. Nice.
How awesome it is.
We're actually down here at the SinFab Industries new location.
Yeah.
Where we put in the dyno cell.
And it's nice. Look at this.
Yep.
Look at that.
So, obviously we're doing it in an open house, just kind of getting this a grand opening going on. We're all down here together having fun.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get a taco, I think. I heard there was a taco.
So, as people are rolling through, we threw out a like a Facebook thing, and people with the Turbo Polaris products, so 2016, 2017, they're having a lot of issues with their belts.
I saw that.
And then 2018, you know, the belt issue kind of disappears a little bit, you know, and that's because they've changed a lot of product inside that clutch. We identified that and decided, you know what, we want to go one step better and take what we've learned how Polaris changed their clutch geometry and roll it back to make not only the Turbo S, the 2018 XPT, but the guys are having the 16s and 17s that are blowing belts, not keeping up with the newer models, take that exact same clutch technology, improve it, and then put it into a 16. So what we did was we reached out to our local community and said, hey, you know, we're gonna have this open house. If you got a car that's actually boiling belts or losing power or this, that, or the other thing, I want you to bring the car down during the event so we can analyze your car, put product in the car, and see the results. And these results are we're gonna pick up horsepower on the bottom end, we're gonna pick up horsepower on the top end, and the belt's gonna live a lot longer. And the reason being is we're no longer fighting the belt. Belt temps will drop, and that drop in temperature is basically its efficiency.
Yeah, heat kills.
Power back to the rear tires. So, long and short, we just baselined this car out. Customer computer came right in. His name's Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen?
Chris Hansen.
Nice. Chris Hansen, is this you?
No. Yeah, there he is. There's the guy. So we did our baseline right here, and pretty standard.
Yeah.
2016 Turbo Polaris. We're making 121 horsepower to the rear tires.
Not bad, right?
Yep. So right now our technicians are just getting set up. We're going to go ahead and remove off the clutches. By the way, new guy right here, Dave.
Dave.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, Dave.
Good to meet you.
Yep. And right there is our senior technician, Captain Jim.
Nice to meet you, Jim.
Likewise.
Who is this guy?
He snuck
What
in.
up? How's it going, dude?
Hanging out. Yep. So I'm going to get out of the way so the boys can get this clutch off, and we can go ahead and sprinkle some of that sauce on this part.
Oh. What is it?
Magic sauce. I know you wanted me to sing.
I did.
Yep, so we
Sorry.
just baselined the absolute stock clutch system on this Polaris Turbo.
Uh-huh.
Now we're going to take it out and we're going to put in our clutch profile in there and then show what the horsepower difference is.
Perfect. And this is a stock?
This is absolutely stock clutch system, yep.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we have here, what was your name again?
Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen. So we have Chris Hansen here, and they're doing a little bit of, well, it's a new product, I think,
Yep.
KMS. Clutch for 2016 RZR Turbo.
RZR Turbo, yep.
So they've identified an issue with that clutch, and they're going to see what they can do to make it better on this car. It's kind of a test car for them. And so Chris Hansen's going to tell us a little bit about his car.
So we spent a little bit of time in the dunes. Seems like getting a little bit of belt slippage on the top end, up on top of the bowls and stuff like that. So I just brought it down to Kelly and see if we can play with the clutch a little bit and get rid of the clutch slippage and maybe get a little bit of power out of it. I haven't blown anything up yet. I kind of watch the temperatures and stuff like that pretty closely, but more slippage than anything.
More slippage. So slippage and slippage.
So brand new belt in there right now, and still getting slippage. So.
Okay, so yeah, I think they already did a base run. I don't remember what that number was. I don't know if they're going to do it again.
Sounds like it was right around 120, maybe 121. So
okay.
We'll see what kind of magic it can work.
There we go. All right, awesome. Thank you.
All right, so basically, I'll grab one of the buttons. So 2016, they used a symmetrical button.
Okay.
2017 and newer, they used an offset button. There's a reason for that. Is to get a better helix angle, it ends up making the helix shallow. Okay, so they use a helix on the ramp up, like at one angle, and then on the other angle they use it, well, on the diesel they use a different angle. Okay, so you can't take a 2016 helix and put it on a 17 button or vice versa. So you got to make sure, because otherwise it'll actually start chewing into the aluminum parts of your clutch, and that's no good. So going into our new helix, if you have a 17 or newer, you would actually want to use your original buttons. However, if you have a 16, you got to change out your buttons to something that looks like that. And this is the last three. I don't know the entire part number, but actually, you know what? I just opened the bag.
Right there.
Perfect. Yeah. So there's magical Polaris button. That's the one that you would want to use.
All right. I hate it when this camera focuses. Wouldn't want to do that.
Oh, perfect.
It's there. It's
there. There you go. All right. So this is actually the helix that we had designed in conjunction with Venom, and now they're doing, they're making us this helix to fix a lot of things that got fixed with the Turbo S as well as the 2018 XPT. But we took it one step further with the angles of this helix. So in 2016, this is what we got, and this is our new helix right here. Okay, the big difference is in these ramps here. Now these ramps, there's actually, you can feel steps in the ramps, and you can actually see where you get, some of these are actually transferring some bushing material along with it. Okay, on this helix here, everything is a complete smooth curve.
Nice.
Okay, so it actually goes from one angle to another angle linearly, so it's just nice and smooth. It's not like a real big step. The other part in this, these aluminum pieces right here, they actually act as a bearing. So inside here, I can spin this by hand. Now this actually has somewhere right around 200 pounds of installed pressure, and I'm able to spin it with my hands. If you try to do this with a factory helix, you can't do it. And here's the reason why. That's the bearing surface. See how small that is? And you see all the metal transfer right there?
Yep.
We went to a full bearing surface.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yep. We went to a full bearing surface, and that allows, we're not fighting.
Oh, so this is, okay, this is a newer helix. That's
so this thing can just free spin and deliver from, you know, you get off the gas and you get back on the gas. It can just spin freely instead of trying to snap and snap and snap. That's just not good on your helix. It's not good on your bushings. It lets it spin more like a bearing as opposed to just fighting all this friction. So two components was the angle change and the bearing surface, and that's why this helix really plays well with belt geometry. Now, we paused for a little minute because the unit that came in, so we literally grabbed this, you know, we said, hey, come on down. Chris, where you at? There he is. I said, just come on down, we're going to fix your belt.
Yep.
And long and short, he's been having some serious issues. Pretty much all of the bushings were just hammered in this clutch. So we said, okay, well, we didn't anticipate that, so we had to go run and get some new bushings in here. Now, to change out these bushings, you'll take a tool, a spider tool, or I should say a nut tool, primary nut tool, like looks like that. This one's had some mileage on it. You impact that loose, you take this up, you pop that up like that, and you go ahead, and a lot of people look at this and say, oh, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. I need to actually show, just briefly if I could, Darren, how this clutch actually works. So when you're idling, when you're sitting here idling, Okay, and people go, oh, that's bad. When the clutch spins, the sliders go out. And that's your cushion.
Gotcha.
People look at this, I'll see people all the time, oh yeah, all this is worn out, I need a new clutch. In all reality, the clutch is fine. These only work when the clutch is spinning.
Oh, centrifugal force throws them
Centrifugal
up.
force lets these things slide into position. So if you see wear like this, that's normal. That's completely normal. It's really cool that, oh yeah, by the way, so 16, and you didn't have the factory Polaris stainless steel slider upgrade. That was free! Polaris did that for free!
What?
Not for us 16 guys.
Not really? Well, shame on Polaris then. Alright, moving on. So, I'm
It just
gonna...
slides right in there.
Yeah, it just slides right in there. You can do that just by removing the top hat and the spring, and you can just slide these bad boys right in. You don't need a special tool to do these sliders. However, you do need a special tool if you want to replace these cushions. Another thing that kind of amazes me is a lot of these clutch tools are getting really cheap nowadays, and not a bad idea to have some on hand, you know what I mean? It's like, you're really going to take it to a shop just to replace these things, or can you just buy one of these, get a big impact, and just do it yourself? I mean, I'm a huge fan of working on stuff myself.
Same.
My wife will attest to that because I never change my oil in my car. Is that the mechanic?
That is kind of how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're a mechanic, you have the worst running car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Just slide right in.
we'll just slide these right in. Okay. You know, so at this point, we would go ahead and install the spring, right? So there's the spring. And I want to talk about, I just lost all the maps. I want to talk about this cup right here. This is probably the most ill-conceived form thing I see, is because a lot of people think it's a limiter. I've seen this. It's a limiter. It's not a limiter. It is to position your spring and prevent your spring from walking around, okay? If you have an aftermarket spring, and there's an aftermarket spring out there that's almond colored, and you put this in here, and you don't have one of these cups, what'll happen is this spring will walk over like this and actually bind on this shelf right here, and your car will only go 55 miles an hour.
So it
Right?
locks the clutch
This
from
is
it.
not a limiter. This is a part that needs to go in. People removing this are thinking, oh, well, when the RZR 800 first came out, there was a little plastic shim you remove and life goes on and you're going fast. Yes, that works, but this right here, it's not a limiter.
Positions the spring.
Okay, so you see that surface right there? And you see this surface right here? And you see that surface right there? You see how it's got marks on it? You know why it's got marks on it? To prevent this. If your belt ever blows, it's got a plastic cushion to prevent your clutch from exploding. Okay?
Gotcha.
Two aluminum surfaces with that much force behind it, guess what happens? They shatter. They absolutely shatter. And I will say this straight up. I have a good friend of mine who has a scar from here to here on a shattered clutch.
Oh no.
Because he was standing, he was helping me dyno, and a customer didn't have what I call, this is basically a limiter spacer to prevent them from going nose to nose. If a belt blows, the belt blew and the clutch shattered. And shrapnel flew out like everywhere. So big giant parts and pieces of this.
Yeah.
And after looking at everything, if that customer, you know, because the customer bought the car and he says, hey man, you know, I want you to do some clutch tuning. I'm like, okay, great. We were doing a baseline and the clutch exploded because the belt failed. You know, so not only do you need this to center the spring, but that's a huge safety thing.
Gotcha.
You know, and trust me when I say this, I would much rather, even if this was a limiter, I would much rather have it in the event, let's just say you have your cover on, you're out with your family, and no one's getting hurt. The bottom line is this: if that clutch goes nose to nose and literally the entire primary blows out, well, you're just out $700.
Yep.
Couple more.
Yep.
Is it really
sure.
worth it? So I say this all the time, and I'm just kind of throwing it out there. You need this part. Very important part. Safety first.
Absolutely.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the boys run this trophy truck. And we're going to finish up the clutch install on this car, get it back on the dyno, and see what our new Helix is all about.
Awesome. All right. We'll record this and we'll come back to that. What do you think?
Can't wait to see the results.
I know, right? I want to see what numbers it puts down. I want to see what this does too. Definitely, no doubt. All right, so buttons are in, springs going in.
Oh, Kelly, what'd you get out of the side? For now.
Okay, it looks like we're going back together. Are you anxious?
Definitely anxious. I want to see what kind of power we can get out of this clutch.
All right, so now we're looking at the primary, huh?
Yes, we are.
And what all gets done on that guy?
On this one, we're going to change his weight profile.
Okay.
We have found that the factory spring that comes with it, a lot of guys have been running like heavier springs and everything else like that. We just found that if you just get the weight profile right, you don't have to have such a aggressive spring to overcome the spring rate.
Oh, okay.
So as long as you get the weight situated right on the fingers, we found that all we need is just the weight profile change.
So maybe a little different weight with a different profile, different shape. Okay.
So we're at the end of the event. We got Jim. I want to actually give a quick shout out. We got Dave over here helping strap all day long. Jim is extremely tired because I have overworked him to death, and he said that his girl is gonna take care of me. So long and short, we got the clutch repaired, and then we installed the Helix. We also installed a stiffer spring, and now we're going to go ahead and test this clutch on the dyno. A couple things I want to show you on the 16s. We're already strapped here. So primary goes on as usual. We're using the original belt that the customer came in with, but you'll see these little spacer things right here. And what it is this right here is a product I came up with that actually gets the spacing correct so the belt rides all the way in the top in the secondary. And that's really important because when these vehicles start off, you want that belt all the way high, because if it starts off with the belt recessed, then the primary essentially starts off in too tall of a gear. So this ends up being a larger radius and this ends up being a smaller radius, and number one, you're losing power on your launch, but number two, you're slipping your belt every time you come to a stop and then go to take off again. So these little things, we call them secondary savers, and what it will do is it'll ensure that your secondary is sitting at the right height. And we have them for all the years. We have them for 16 and 17 as well as 18 and 19. They're two different configurations of the secondary savers, but we got it on, and I say let's just run this thing and see what the clutch in the Helix does.
Okay, see some numbers. Do you remember what the original
we were at 121, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that run up right now. Okay, so perfect.
Okay, so this is
yeah,
original
so
run.
this is the original run, 121, and Jim.
Yes, sir.
Let's light them up.
All right, let's do it.
I appreciate it.
And a quick recap, we're testing, what are we calling this?
Yeah, so we're testing, the primary test here is the Helix structure. So the Helix structure is going to give us less belt slip, longer belt life. Now, looking at Chris, where's Chris? Anyways, Chris is somewhere here.
He's over there.
Anyways, so looking at his clutch, I mean, all the bushings, all these plastic parts are just worn out because this Helix is just overworking all of the bushings. So we're going to make the Helix free spin better. We're going to increase the angles, and we're going to see what kind of.
And is this a product that's available for Polaris guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's Polaris S all the way down to the 2016 XPT. So the Polaris Turbo.
And the product's called?
Actually, I've yet to come up with a name right now, but we're just calling it the KMS Turbo Helix.
Okay. And the price? Do you have a price?
Yeah, $150 retail.
Nice. There you go.
Hey, there's Chris. stock flash, stock ECU. Okay, and we went from 121 to 130 horsepower. Now 130 horsepower is actually stock horsepower for the 2018 XPT.
Nice.
Right? So guys are running the 16 saying, oh, maybe I should buy the 18 and the newer models. A lot of your energy is being lost in the clutch system. There's a simple fix to not only increase your belt life, but get more bang for your buck because the motor's already making the power and you can put it to the ground.
Nice, nice, nice. Good job. Pretty sweet, huh?
The real thing here is you gotta test drive it. You gotta test drive it.
Yeah.
We gotta see that smile in the very
Seat of the pants. Seat of the pants.
Seat of the pants is
seat of the pants, proof of the pudding, man. And by the way, I don't know Chris. He walked up and says, "Hey, I'm Chris, the guy you're gonna do some clutch stuff today."
There you go.
He's gonna take it for a quick rip, and we're gonna see what this does. Seat of the pants, because that's the real important thing.
Seat of the pants.
Yeah.
All right, Chris is going to take it for a rip and check out his new clutch. If he can get belted in.
all right, we're gonna take a run down the road.
Juice it out there.
Nice. What do you think?
The remodel is fantastic.
It really is.
I'm never gonna live that down.
No, it's good. We just
Lingo, man.
saves time.
It's real snappy. I like it.
See how difference?
Definitely snappy. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like it's pulling pretty hard.
Seat of the pants.
Through the band. And he's like, it's gonna put you back in your seat. I'm like, I'm used to it.
Now we
Awesome.
just need to take a trip to the dune.
Yeah, heck yeah, heck yeah. All right. Okay, what's going on?
And we are an hour and 40 minutes into our trip to heading out to Arizona, Glendale, for a meetup, grand opening at SinFab Industries with KMS Performance. But we're making a detour. Tonight we are swinging by to pick up that other Hoover, Mr. Dean Hoover.
It looks good. Oh yeah. That's a VW 64? It's like a 64 body on a RZR. I've seen them online a lot. They're super cool. This one looks really good. They did a good job on this one.
I know you gotta go. Where we be?
We
be there.
At SinFab Industries, and there's a bunch of really fun looking cars.
I'm sneaking in right into the back door like I own the place. Because I'm letting my heart be led by the sounds of a dyno in the morning.